I want to share my backstory of my shift from seeking the American dream like I've been sold to pursuing my own dream, and maybe this can inspire something within you too. The Perspective Podcast is fuel for your mind and creative grind. Each week, my guests and I provide the skills for thinking bigger, overcoming adversity, and making an impact with your work. What's going on? You're listening to episode 180 of the Perspective Podcast. I'm your host, Scotty.D.Russell of Perspective Collective, and my mission is to help you grow a fulfilling, profitable, and sustainable creative side hustle, creative pursuit, or whatever the hell you're doing with your creativity. And at the end of each episode, I plug a listener of the week, so stick around to figure out how you can get a permanent shout out on a future episode. And I've been slowly plugging this over the past month, but the Side Hustlers coaching program is literally right around the corner. For real. The worldwide public enrollment opens the 24th to the 30th this month. However, pay attention to this, the early bird private pre-launch for those on the A-list waitlist at sidehustlerscoaching.com takes place next Monday through Sunday, the 17th to the 23rd. If this interests you at all to be a part of this, you're going to want to be on this A-list waitlist on the pre-launch. So what is this coaching program? This is deep, transformative group coaching for those who want to see more progress in 3 months than they've ever had in the last 3 years. And that's a bold claim, but this is what my students have been telling me and describing what the program has done for them. So I'm not making this up. Roster spots are extremely limited, as half of the exclusive 12 spots are pre-filled and locked in as I record this mid to late July. So if this feels like a good fit, jump on your gut feeling ASAP. Clarity, confidence, accountability, and community are waiting for you. Also, if you're hearing this in the future, you can still join the waitlist anytime for the Spring 2021 program or future enrollment by again joining at sidehustlerscoaching.com. So today, I'm making a safe bet that you're listening to this podcast because you feel creatively called to do something more in life. The traditional American dream you've been sold doesn't fulfill that creative urge you want to unleash on the world. If you're like me, you want to pursue work that you love that you also happen to be hella good at. You want to make great money unlocking future financial and time freedom. You want to make an impact on those you truly give a shit about. You want all these things, but maybe you don't know where to start. Or maybe you're convinced you don't have what it takes and that it's too late in the game for you to even get going. And as a coach, I take pride in this, but I'm here to squash all of those limiting beliefs that are self-sabotaging you from chasing what you want. So leading up to the coaching program and the kickoff of that, I want to set the tone and paint a vivid picture of what's possible for you too when you truly go after what you want. And that's why today I'm stoked to kick off my latest episodic adventure called the Blaze Your Own Path series. This is something I've been noodling on since early 2020, the beginning of the year, and I just haven't found a time for when it made sense or when I wanted to pursue it or when I had the time until now. And regardless, this isn't a push for you to join the coaching program. Regardless if you feel the program is a good fit or not during this season, my hopes and intentions with this series are to inspire you with my story that you too can blaze your own path to side hustle success. This series is meant to break your limiting beliefs of what you're capable of accomplishing. And the series is meant to motivate you to take massive, uncomfortable action to chase what you want on your own terms. So part 1 today is all about getting started, believing it's possible, and breaking away from the lies that you've been sold. You can read this in a blog format by visiting perspective-collective.com/180. And if you found value in this episode, please do me a favor. It's because of you that the show keeps growing. So if you could spread the good word by sharing a screenshot or a video of you listening or working to this in the background, make sure you tag me on Instagram so we can connect and I can reshare the love back. And as always, keep an open mind and act on anything that inspires you today. Let's go. All right, let's kick this off by describing why the American dream isn't for everyone. And more specifically, let's talk about the dream that you've been sold, that I've been sold. And we live in a society where we're fed the American dream of, you got to go to college to get a good paying job. It doesn't have to be a job that you like. It just has to be a good paying job. And next, you have to get a house, followed by getting married, and then you have to start a family. You know, that's tradition. This is how it's always been done. And more importantly, the American dream is enjoying life. You get to enjoy life once you hit your 60s and you retire, okay? That's the American dream. Going to college, get a good paying job, get a house, mortgage and getting married, starting a family, and then work your butt off until you're in your 60s. And that's when you can enjoy life, just to summarize that. And maybe this was the dream for our parents and grandparents, but times have changed. And I live by the motto that you're not born to just pay bills and die. I don't know who to attribute that quote to, but damn, it's so true. The freedom and abilities to create the life you want, the creative dreams that you want to chase are right in front of you, like literally right in your pocket. I've built a business off my phone. And the thought of blindly accepting this path as the norm fires me up for multiple reasons. One, life shouldn't begin when you retire in your 60s. That is, after you've paid your dues making someone else's dreams possible. That's total bullshit. It doesn't matter what age or stage you are along in your path. You can pursue your dreams and enjoy the fruits of your labor right now, even if it's outside of a day job. You don't have to wait until you're in your 60s for you to be happy doing what you love. Number two, the traditional system of education and employment aren't your only options. I've taught myself more outside of college by leveraging modernized online education like classes, courses, workshops, etc. And living out my current full-time dream job as a side hustle coach, like I don't even know if that's a real thing. Living out this dream job is something I would have never learned how to do in college. They would not have taught me this shit. And number three, this is what really grinds my gears, is the modern education system rarely, if at all, teaches the world of free enterprise systems. Look that up if you don't know what it is, and or entrepreneurship. This current education system that we go through is roughly 200 years old, and it was designed in the industrial age to groom the next wave of compliant factory workers. And I source how to articulate my thoughts on this from a universal education article from Quartz. Basically, we've been taught repetitive exercises for memorization to become good quiz test takers. Neither free enterprise systems nor entrepreneurship courses or programs were offered at my school, at least during that time when I went to school, and I graduated in 2010, and I've literally had to seek out my own information to fuel my chase. Thankfully, I'm slowly starting to see these types of courses and entrepreneurship integrated in some of these universities, which is dope. But after reading all of this, do you feel like the American dream maybe isn't a good fit for you too? I feel ya. That's why you're listening. And I want to share my backstory of my shift from seeking the American dream like I've been sold to pursuing my own dream. And maybe this can inspire something within you too. So I grew up believing that the American dream was the only dream. My parents were taught this, and they grew up influencing me to follow the status quo as well. Not to mention being raised and grown and bred within the school system and external forces also fed me this dream. All right, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? An NBA player. I'm sorry, but you most likely should be a doctor or, an engineer, just something like that, because it pays well. And I can't be mad at my parents. They were only acting out of what they felt were in my best interest. And while I followed this path at an early age, the creative calling grew stronger and veered my trajectory into a different direction. So I want to share with you a quick timeline of how things panned out in my world. And I should note, it makes me uncomfortable. I'm going to share specific numbers, and it makes me uncomfortable, but I believe in transparency because I don't ever want people to think I'm like gloating or bragging or boasting because, man, I feel like I came and grew up from the gutter. I've had nothing. And so me talking about what I've been able to build by chasing my own dreams, I really wanted to speak to you that, man, maybe you're sitting there like the old me, feeling like you had nothing, you came from nothing, and there's no future for you. And I'm hoping what I share today can inspire you. Like, if I can do this, then it's totally possible for you too. And I've built my name, the podcast and coaching reputation on full transparency and zero sugarcoating shit. So with this timeline and this entire series, 3-part series in general, I'm going to be sharing hard numbers like my side hustle income progression. It feels a little gross to share it, but I think it's important from an educational, an inspirational perspective. And I'll be sharing my backstories that have led me to where I am today. So let's continue going. So let's rewind, jump in that time machine, hot tub time machine, all the way back to when I was 15 years old. And I was attending Waterloo West High School in the middle of a blizzard. It's like a basketball game. I just got done playing my sophomore game, getting ready for the varsity game, and I backed into a car. It looked like a snowdrift, and I backed into it. Just had a little ding on it, but that cost like $1,500 to remove this little dent and ding in someone's car. So immediately, I had to go get a job. At the age of 15, I was pushing in carts at Hy-Vee to slowly pay off this damage, pay my parents back. And while I was working, I still played 3 sports. I was football, I was basketball, and I was track. And I was hella involved in after school programs. And from that early age, at the age of 15, I learned time management and carrying a full plate. All right, so that's really helped me from my side hustle pursuits to what I'm doing now with the day job when I look back and connect the dots. And maybe that can help you connect the dots too of what you've been groomed to be good at. Fast forward to 2006 through 2010 when I was in college at Wartburg College. During this span, I was working at Hy-Vee still. I had an internship for my degree of graphic design at Waverly Light and Power. I was playing football, and then I started coaching football after I blew my back out twice with injuries. And I was taking on night classes. Like, I had a full load. And during this time, too, this was the early days of entrepreneurship for me. I started drawing like $50 tattoos for friends. Like, I was always drawing tattoos, but it was about the age of like 2021 when I finally claimed I was an artist and started sharing my work on Facebook, and then people started asking me. And then post-college, this would have been through 2010 through 2012. I was a volunteer high school football coach and served at a restaurant. I should know I couldn't get a job for 3 years. I'll talk about this later on. I just could not land a job first 3 years out of college. It was a very sad time for me. But after volunteering at high school football and serving at a restaurant, I got an opportunity to personal train because I was hitting the gym all the time, getting my life back on track without having football coaches yell at me to train me. And I started this personal training career at Snap Fitness that lasted about a year. That sucked butt. But I learned the early ages of selling. So, there was some gold tucked away in there. During this stretch, too, of these 2 years, I co-created and ran a clothing brand for 4 years called Daydreamin' Clothing with my homie D-Mac. And also during this span, I created a lot of $100 logos and tattoos for people. 2013, this was the year I found my spark. I fell in love with drawing for me again. Instead of drawing tattoos and everything else, like I had a life-changing experience at a festival. DM me if you want more about that, but that's a fun story. But I fell in love with drawing for me again, personal work, and I religiously began posting on Instagram. I found hand lettering during this time. And during this time, I also landed my first real design job doing grunt work like car ads and other shitty work. It wasn't fun, but like I got my foot in the door finally with like what my degree was 3 years into the game. 2014. Perspective Collective was born, and I landed my big boy corporate design gig. If you know me and how I talk in here, I'm like not cut from the corporate cloth, so I was always like the black sheep at corporate. It's amazing I didn't get like fired for some of the stuff I was saying. But anyway, 2014, that was a big year for me. Just starting Perspective Collective and landing a good paying job with benefits, yada, 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 yada. 2015, I started blogging and took on more freelance gigs. And this is where I started earning like some side hustle earnings. And that year was less than $1,000. Definitely less than $1,000. So 2013 and 2014, I never really pursued making money. I was just finding my groove and falling in love with drawing again and just consistently posting and slowly building an audience. So 2 years, I barely made any money. And in the first year of actually pursuing money and taking on some like legit freelance gigs, I made less than $1,000. 2016, I started selling merch. I thought freelancing was the thing you had to do, and then you can start selling merch once you start growing an audience. And all that blogging, even though no one read my blog, it led to public speaking opportunities, being on other people's podcasts. And then I started my own podcast. Gosh, as the moment this comes out, it's been 4 years since I started a podcast, August 19th, 2016. And that year in 2016, my side hustle earnings were a little under $2,000. So I about doubled what I made the year before. So 2017 through 2018, more podcasting, weekly podcasting, lots of speaking gigs, teaching workshops at conferences, selling more merch, especially like the 2018 2-year anniversary of the podcast. Did a lot of merch that year, did mugs, posters, pins, whatever, and more freelancing. Did like my first mural tucked away in there, a couple murals in there. So 2017, my side hustle earnings were a little under $5,000 to $6,000. And then my 2018 side hustle earnings were about $15,000. So you could really see the growth from 2015 around 1,000, then 2,000, then 6,000, then 15,000. You can see that growth. And I was just doing so many different things in between, just trying it all, saying yes to everything. In 2019, I started sharing my face on video more because that scared me. I started coaching at the beginning of the year. I said no to all freelance. I killed my online shop and just dove into 5 one-on-one sessions for $100 at an hour a piece. Sold them out in less than 10 minutes. So like there had to be something there. And also in 2019, I did my first live podcast, which scared the shit out of me. So things were going good. I launched my first coaching program as well. But the kicker to 2019, which is a huge blessing in disguise, is that I was unexpectedly let go from my full-time safe job as a UI UX designer, making $59,000 a year salary. And my side hustle earnings in 2019 came out to be around $35,000. All right, all on the side, making 59 at the day job, 35 on the side. And so when I would let go, it was time to take the leap. It was easier said than done, that's for sure. It was scary and hesitant and whatever. I'll talk about it another time if you don't know that story. But fast forward to 2020. I became a full-time coach, made the leap finally, while creating passive income off digital products. I really haven't done much freelancing this year. If anything, it's been trades of services like a custom desk or like unlimited haircuts, shit like that. Not really taking on commission, going all in on this. And this is where I start getting weird, and I want to sound braggy, but I want to let you know, like, this is the crazy progression already. So last year I earned $35,000. And as I recorded this today, mid to late July, my total income as of 2020 is around $70,000. So I'm already making over $10,000 more than I did at my day job. And I'm halfway into the year. And again, this feels gross, but you need to know, projected income for this year is going to be over $100,000. And if you would have told me this last year, that at the beginning of 2019, that I would be making over $100,000 doing my thing full time, pursuing my dream at the end of 2020, I would have said, you're fucking kidding me. You're crazy, but this is where it's at right now. And I want to paint this picture, and I want to show you and tell you over this series how I got here. Or if you're working with me in the coaching program, I want to teach you everything step by step. This is my story. And if I can do this, a little dude, nobody knows me from Iowa building my dream, then I want to show you how you can do it too. Location doesn't matter. Skill set kind of matters, but we can get to that. But I think the big thing that helped me get to this point to free me up to do what I'm doing right now is that I went against the grain, and I went against the biggest lie that we've been sold. Again, another huge lie is that being a slave to debt is good. So I haven't really talked about getting out of debt much on this show, but this is important. This is something I want to talk more about so you can free up some freedom to yourself. And if you haven't noticed, our society grooms us to be a slave to debt owners. I've gotten really passionate about this, and I want to talk about this so you can change your relationship with money. Once you change your relationship with money, so many opportunities are going to open up for you. So every day, if you haven't noticed, you're aggressively being marketed a credit card as a means to get what you want when you want it, regardless if it's outside of your means of living. And I get so annoyed of all the paper they waste by mailing pre-approved credit cards to my house. Or like the one credit card I have for business is like, congratulations, your limit's increased. I'm like, bitch, I didn't ask for my limit to be increased. I don't want more spending power. That just creates more power for debt. A higher credit score means more debt you can borrow. So credit scores aren't that cool. It just allows you to get more debt, just so you know that. But with a credit card, why wait for what you want? You can finance practically anything, new phone, cars, TV, in your attempts to impress people you don't know by buying shit with money you don't have. Going into debt is glorified and normalized, yet it could be holding you back from gaining the financial and time freedom to take the big risks you want to do in your life. And I should make a note here, I'm not an advocate of going into debt anymore. However, I've used my credit card in scenarios to invest in myself, like getting coaching, going to a conference, investing in a course, with the commitment of getting my ROI, my return on investment, back ASAP so I can pay off my balance. If I put anything on my business credit card, I pay that shit off at the end of the month. If I ever take anything out, it's because I know I'm going to get my ROI back. Paying off debt is more powerful than making more money. And let me tell you why. While getting a raise is dope and all, you don't necessarily need to make more money at your current job to improve your financial situation. Sounds like you do. Most people think you need to do. The more money you make, the more your lifestyle goes up. When really it should be like the more money you make, you keep your lifestyle the same or find ways to trim the fat so you can free up your income. And 3 things happen every time you pay off one of your debts. Super important. Whenever you pay off a debt, 1, you give yourself a raise without even getting a raise from your employer. You give yourself a raise. You pay off that $100 a month loan that you had. Well, now you just freed up your monthly cash earnings of $100. What can you do with that? Save, pay off your next debt, snowball it. Number 2, when you pay off one of your debts, your freed up money becomes a new tool to invest in your future, like I just mentioned. And number 3, you become more in control of emotions and spending. So money isn't just something you're just blowing away now when you take control of your finances and your spending. And so for most of my life, I had an extremely toxic relationship with money. I was conditioned to believe that money was scarce and hard to come by. So in order to get what I wanted, I had to put it on a credit card. However, back to the story mode, and this is where things really changed for me. Part 3 is going to be about like a pro mindset. I'm going to give you a little bit foreshadowing what's to come, but I always took my side hustle serious, but when I start taking my finances serious, that's what exploded my side hustle. So in 2019, my wife and I had a paradigm shifting meltdown. I was bringing in all this extra income, like 2019, $35,000 extra dollars, but we were always broke. We never knew where our money was going, and we were constantly fighting over spending. She was always pissing me off, and then I was always pissing her off because I'm like, oh, how much did that carton of eggs cost today? Just stupid stuff. And that's when we had our fed up moment. She's crying, and I'm like, dude, I've had it. I've had it up to here. I'm tired of it. I'm getting my money together. Found resources like Dave Ramsey and some other people, kind of put together my own plan. And from there, we had a game plan to get our shit together so we could actually live the life we always dreamed of out loud, but never thought it was possible. She always likes to play this, if I had $1 million game, well, I'm like, let's get $1 million in the bank and let's do whatever the hell we want game. Like, let's do it now. And after that fed up moment, Emily and I started a 2-year goal to pay off a little over $100,000 worth of consumer debt. This is like your student loans, hospital bills, vehicles, and credit cards by December 31st of 2020. So 2019, at the beginning of January, that's when this goal would have taken place, over $100,000 worth of debt. And the goal was to pay it all off by the end of December 31st, 2020. So here are some quick notes about the progress of this goal since I got my shit together. And as I record this, mid to late July, we have about $37,000 left, made up of 2 final student loans of mine. Her student loans are gone, cars are gone, hospital bills gone, her vehicle's paid for, my vehicle's paid for. Second note is we will be debt-free aside from a mortgage before the December 31st, 2020 original deadline. We will. It's already a done deal in my mind. It's just a matter of paying that last payment. And none of this would have been possible had I not chased my own creative dream and changed my relationship with money. So I blazed my own path, and I took my relationship with money more seriously, and I treated it as a tool. And paying off a shit ton of debt in 2019 freed up the opportunity for me to make that full-time leap in 2020 after losing my job. It was scary, but after I paid all that debt, it's a lot less scary. And for once, we've never had this before. We have a nest egg covering 6 months of expenses and a plan for investing in our future financial freedom once I knock out the rest of this debt this year. Money is not the root of all evil. Debt is. And the last thing I want to talk about is don't focus on money in the beginning. We're believing that things are possible for us when we blaze our own path. But like I mentioned earlier, I didn't make barely any money in my first couple years of doing this, and I didn't pursue it. Making money from your gift is dope and all, but I strongly advise not focusing on that right away. That should not be your prime focus, in my opinion, from my experiences. I'm more about starting slow and scaling over time and doing the work and growing organically and naturally. And to me, the opportunity to monetize your craft takes shape during the slow and steady, gritty grind of chasing your dream. In my opinion, it's directly tied to the value, service, and impact you can provide people. So in the early stages of trying to monetize your shit, yet you're barely providing any value or service or impact to people, you're going to feel so defeated that you can't make any money. It's because the value, service, and impact are missing. And I'm a believer in keeping risks low in the beginning so you can find your groove and build upon your successes at your own pace. And that's why in the program and just on the podcast and anything I do, I teach the philosophy of leveraging your day job to fuel your dream job for a few very strong, solid reasons. A day job can be a beautiful thing as it allows you to cover your expenses so you can explore your sweet spot, which is the overlap of your greatest passion and strengths. And I think this is like perspective-collective.com/61 or something like that, maybe 11. Oh my God. Just type in Sweet Spot Perspective Podcast and you'll find it in Google. A day job can be a beautiful thing because it allows you to dive deep and take calculated risks without the financial pressures of forcing your dream to succeed. It also allows you to build up your side hustle, grow meaningful relationships, and exponentially increase your side income. So don't kill the dream. Sadly, so many people I work with or talk to feel the pressure to generate income from the jump with their creative pursuits, and it's a dangerous, slippery slope like I mentioned. Because, here, let me go more specific why this is a slippery slope. Obsessively focusing on monetization in the beginning can 1, suffocate the joy of finding your sweet spot that could possibly yield more potential than you could have ever imagined. 2, monetizing in the beginning or the focus of it can just transform it into another mundane and draining day job that's just not fun and purposeful and passionate. It can also extinguish the dream as you just didn't give it proper time and energy to truly grow organically. So again, I didn't make a dime in 2013 and 2014 when I started taking my creativity seriously, and I'm glad I didn't. Had I had all that pressure to monetize my craft in the early stages, I would have never listened to my gut and tried blogging, speaking, podcasting, or coaching. I'll talk about this in part 2 of doing things your own way, finding what works for you. Had I just focused on money, I would have caved in and thrown in the towel, convinced I didn't have the chops to blaze my own path to success. Instead, I took things slow and leveraged my day job so I could take small, calculated risks and find what worked best for me without feeling rushed. So chase your dream at your own pace. And I want to review real quick what we learned in part 1 today. So 1, your urge to chase your dream is important and possible and necessary. Number 2, your relationship with money and debt could be holding you back from what you really want to do in life. And number 3, please don't focus on monetizing your dream right from the jump. You're setting yourself up for a quick defeat. So, after listening to part 1, you're now on track to blaze your own path as you chase your creative dream. And just remember, you don't have to have it all figured out overnight. It's important just to get started and enjoy the chaotic process along the way. So stay tuned next week for part 2 of this series. We're going deep on how to intentionally and authentically show up as yourself and slowly find out what works best for you and your unique path you're trailblazing. So stay tuned and look forward to that next week. PC family, there you have it, part 1. I hope you found a lot of value in this one. I'm very, very, very passionate about this topic. Not to mention, I've already got my gym session in, a couple cups of coffee in my system as well, so I'm geeked and ready to go and fired up. It would mean a lot to me if you shared this one with your friends, your family, or your following. And if one thing specifically stood out, I would love for you to just share it with me and let's connect. And again, this series is just building off of the upcoming fall 2020 Side Hustlers coaching program. If you're feeling fired up and ready to work with me and 11 other committed creatives to unlock your next big breakthrough, then sign up for the A-List waitlist and learn more to apply for the next week's private early bird launch. You're not going to want to miss that. So if this show has helped you along your creative grind, there are 2 ways you can support what we're building here. First up is by financially backing the show over at patreon.com/perspective podcast, like my family, Iron Bean Coffee Company, and Tony Minix do. And you can support the show with as little as your weekly cup of coffee. All right. And at the 3-tier mark, you get to hear episodes early. You get to unlock that, which is super dope. And a lot of other perks that are over there too. And I'm always looking for new ideas, how to give you a better experience over there too. And the second way is by subscribing and leaving a rating and review over on Apple Podcasts or iTunes. Not only does this help the show climb up the charts in the design arts category, but it staples you in as a future listener of the week. Like this week's listener of the week. This one comes from Richie Bassman from Canada, titled Visionary Example for Modern Life. He states, I appreciate Scotty because he tells it like it is and doesn't rely on hacks or quick fixes. His story is one of hard, consistent work. He covers a wide variety of material, which has hit home with me for a number of times where I felt discouraged as an artist or needed a business system to move forward in my own journey. Aside from the podcast, he creates usable products such as the War Chest. Now it's the Side Hustle Freedom Kit. Just so you know, changed the name, less aggressive, which offered some great resources to fuel the creative fire. Thanks for all you do. Richie, I sincerely appreciate you, brother. For real, this means a lot to me. And as I sign off, I want to give a huge shout out to my podcast editor, Anya Brennan, putting in work on this series, my executive assistant, Paige, putting in work on this series, proofreading it, video specialist, Colton Bacher, social media coordinator, Hannah Schick, and Nick Jenkins of Bluka for all the dope theme music you hear on the show. And as you finish off your week strong, I want to continue to encourage you to keep showing up, keep putting in the work, and keep trail blazing. You got this. Peace.